All right, this is going to be a weekly recap from the 31st of October to the 4th day of November, and this is now officially my 4th week trading a $100 risk level, and I think that the fact that I haven't lost my shirt or anything like that is good, but I don't know, I guess I'm still adjusting to trading a larger size. Maybe the setups haven't been that good recently, but I'm going to keep trying, and I think that's the name of the game. Again, a pretty big jump from a $40 risk level to, in theory, a $100 risk level. Just a break-even week. I mean, I'm up 86 pennies, which is nothing. 6 trades, 3 of them were green, and I didn't include this one in the stats. This was a break-even trade, and 50% winning percentage. 83% of my trades were according to my $100 risk level. The only one where I was off was actually the one where it would have really helped if I had the right amount of size. All right, this would have made the week a lot better, but that's totally fine. I think, when something really lame like that happens, where the one that mattered the most to have the right amount of shares ended up being the one where I had the wrong amount of shares and too little, I think it's just less likely that something like that's going to happen again. My average dollar gain was a lot less than my average dollar loss. That's because of this one right here. I tried to set up with WLAN, and this one got a little unlucky because I was not able to cut this one for a slight loss or break even. I kind of fell into the slippage. It was kind of hard to get out of the position, but I think that's totally fine. Average percent gain was not as good as my average percent loss. Again, this one got me with the slippage. This was about the same, and it does seem like the setups that do work out tend to take a longer period of time to develop, which seems to make sense. Let's go ahead and go over the trades one by one, starting with CYDY on the 31st. 31st is going to be right here. So the idea is that it hasn't really been doing much, but the thing is that it had this gap down right here and it had a whole bunch of volume. So sometimes when the stock has a gap down like this, it could downtrend in the morning in some cases, or maybe it immediately starts to uptrend and offer some kind of a bounce. This is the 31st. Let's go ahead and highlight this right here. And I was in at 932, 34.75. And this was a gap down, morning spike, round number, breakout. So let's look at 932, 34.75. I guess I'll zoom in some more. 932 was right here, and I got in at 34.75. So actually, I think the very top. And why did I get in this? Again, I had a gap down. It didn't really have much of a panic. I mean, I guess you can call this a bit of a panic, but it wasn't something that had like multiple red candles downtrending and then it finds a bottom somewhere, consolidates, and ideally reverses. This just had like a little dump right here with a bunch of volume, and then it was trying to uptrend, and I got in it because I thought it was going to break the nice round number of 35 cents, and then if we break that nice psychological round number, I thought it can continue to uptrend over a longer period of time and maybe try to regain the gap or at least offer something towards the upside. I got out at 933 at 343, so 933 was right here, and I had a really good cut. I just cut it right here at this point. I probably just didn't like the price action. Maybe I got in right when it was looking like it was going to break 35, and then when some sellers jumped in at the ask, I got out of it. It did downtrend. It kind of tried again, and then it sold off some more. Then it eventually uptrended, I guess, from, I don't know, breaking this level of 34 and over a longer period of time getting to 37. So not really the best, but I think it was a good try. And it seems like I got out of this one, not necessarily because there were sellers at the ask at 35 that looked a little too overwhelming, but maybe I got in because there was a lot of support at the bid. And then when I saw those big bidders, as it says right here, disappear, I got out of it and I didn't try to take any chances, which was a good call for what that was. Let's look at WLAN on the first. I can type. Right here's going to be the first. Pretty cool, very significant uptrend, good volume, broke above this range right here in the 57, or if you want to be, I guess a little more rounded off, the 60 level, continues the uptrend. This is the 31st. Let's go ahead and highlight it. I got in at 932 at 61, and this was a morning spike, round number breakout. So very similar to the other one, but this is in a gap down. This is something that just keeps uptrending. Let's look at 932.61. Gonna zoom in some more. 932 was right here, and I got in at 61. So again, the idea was is that I guess it broke the previous day high, which was a 60 level, and we're uptrending, and then I'm in it at 61, thinking that it can continue to uptrend and be a nice morning spike. Especially again, we broke past that nice round number of 60. So I didn't get in at 60, but I got in at 61. I guess I wanted some confirmation. I got out at 935. 627 was my average. Right here at 935, 627. So I got out roughly right here. And I'm going to guess I sold in pieces. And let's just look at my notes. It didn't uptrend much. It kind of worked. Okay, so it kind of worked. I wanted it to uptrend over a longer period of time, continuously towards the upside, and I just got out of it because, it just made a top very quickly. Maybe a trend line like this is something that I had, and then I cut it eventually at that time period right at 935. So I'm going to guess I got out of here because we broke the uptrending trend line. I wanted it to continuously be a morning spike. We didn't get that, although it did, break above that 60 sub penny level, get to 64, have a downtrend back to 62, still above VWAP, and then make a little move higher, kind of come back slightly higher than this level, and then it got even higher. But it seems like the volume dried out, so it might not have been the best thing to consider for a longer period of time, but I've seen stuff like this work on other stocks that have more volume. And yeah, I mean, this thing did continue the uptrend even more. It did get above a penny, which is super impressive. I do want to start considering swing trading setups, not just trading the intraday stuff, but again, holding things over a longer period of time. Again, especially when we broke past this level right here at this sub penny 60 level, because it broke above this range right here, and it broke the previous day high as well. So yeah, that would have been more profitable if I were to avail that. Let's look at the next trade, and this one is the one I didn't work out. Let's look at WLAN on the 2nd. So it's going to be the next day right here. I guess I'm going to have to go back. Is this the 2nd? Yep, this is the 2nd. And this is going to be the 2nd. Right around there. I got in at 938.68, and this was a morning panic bounce play higher low setup. So let's look at 938. 938 was right here, and I got in at 68. Why? Well, in theory, it had a panic. It dropped from 75, if you count the wick, as low as 64, which is a pretty big move. I mean, 7 to 6, that's like a 17% drop. It uptrends, not really the best volume or liquidity, but it then downtrends. And then I thought this was going to be a higher low off of this level, so that ideally, it's downtrended. It showed that it can spike, and now it went back down, higher low than the level right here, and then it continues to uptrend and break past VWAP officially, and maybe even try to uptrend over a longer period of time and continuously make a move towards the upside. I got out at 940 at 64. This one got me pretty good right here at 64, and essentially I got in this one when I shouldn't have, because of the fact that I got in right here, and I thought we were gonna break 68, which was nice and everything, and 67 was at the bid. There was a big seller at 68, but for some reason I thought the bottom of this little higher low range was 66, so I was in at 68, and then we had support at 67, and I thought, all right, well, we have support at 67. If that gets taken out, we get to the 66s, and if it's still not able to break above 68, I'll be cutting my trade if it looks like it's going to break the 66 level. But when I noticed that the actual bottom of this range was 67, and then 68 has that big seller at the ask, I realized this was a lot weaker than what it was in my mind. And then once it broke past it right here, unfortunately it didn't work out. I decided to give it a little bit of a chance to see if it just breaks the range a little bit, and then it comes back immediately, kind of shaking off some weak-handed people. But it was actually better to cut it right then and there, and I did place a sell order, and I got out at 64 eventually. So that sucked, and it did drop to 62, And it did, you know, do a dip, right? And then it uptrended. It did make a nice move from 64 as high as 73. And I think at this point of the week is when I stopped really considering breakout setups and more along the lines of taking more dip buy setups, just because it just doesn't seem like it's not really doing as well, you know, doing breakouts in general, not just this stock, but a lot of stocks. It just doesn't seem like, you know, they break past the level and really continuously uptrend. They kind of do it a little and then it kind of sells off and then maybe makes a higher low. And then that's the dip buy opportunity, not necessarily the breakout. I hope that wasn't too wordy. Let's look at CRTD on the third. If it lets me type it. Third is going to be right here. Okay, so yeah, the next day after this one, they had an uptrend, kind of consolidated, big volume day, and now I'm trading the next day. Hopefully, I guess in my mind, it's going to have another big green candle, which wasn't really the case here. I was in at 932 at 83, and this was a morning spike, previous day high breakout. So let's look at 932. 83. I'm going to zoom in a bit more. I got in right here at 932, 83. Why? Because the previous day high was 82. So right in the morning, we're already breaking above 82. And then I guess I waited for some confirmation and I got in at 83. It did get as high as 86. I got out 933 the next minute at 83. So the same price point, just the next minutes. 933 was right here. I got out at 83. This one threw me off. I didn't like the way this candle looked right here at the moment. And I think I had an uptrending trend line as well. And I think it broke it very quickly. Yeah. See, it breaks the trend line right here. And of course, we see that it finished right at the very top and it continued to uptrend a little more. But, you know, when it was way at the bottom right here at this 82.5 level, it just looked really ugly. And I got out of the trade for that reason. Didn't uptrend that much. Again, the thing that I was saying, this was a break past 82, the previous day high. I mean, it got as high as 86, but then, you know, it offers a dip buy, then it kind of dipped again. And then this was a better setup where maybe you get in at 84 right before it looks like it's going to break this little top right here in this candle, especially after it jumped on air. And of course, maybe it didn't have that much volume going on, so it wasn't that noticeable or clear. But I mean, it made a move from the 84s to the 88s, a little dip, and then it got a little higher at 90. So that's the thing that I'm talking about. I'm gonna try considering dip buys and not necessarily breakout setups because they don't really seem to be working that well recently. And yeah, this was a scratch. I didn't make or lose anything. It just got thrown off from the price action. But let's just see what a sell best case scenario would have been. All right, what the heck did I do wrong? Oh, okay, it's not a sub penny. Yeah, it just would have been $6, but okay. That was the case for that. Let's look at the next trade and not jump so much and miss the down arrow right here. Let's look at WLAN on the 4th. 4th is going to be right here. First big red day, breaks the trajectory. Very easy. You can draw, I mean, a very simple trend line and then see how it broke that momentum. I guess if you do it off of this one, it's broken it for a long period of time, but I guess let's just try to do one from here to here and see if that one followed it. Yeah, there were a few days where it kind of went under it, but this was clearly the one that broke that pattern. All right, I was trading this again on the 4th. Let's highlight the 4th. It's gonna be right here. I got in at 933 at 92, and this was a dip and rip setup. So again, me transitioning from breakout setups to dip buys. 933, 92. I got in right here at 933.92. It was kind of hard to get it at a better price point. There was a chance to get in at 91, but It just didn't really have like the best price action going on, but in theory it dropped. Still possible that it can uptrend and be another green day, but we did have a sell off here. It drops from 99 as low as this 89 level, and then I'm in at 92 when it looks like it was going to reverse and break above VWAP ideally and continue the uptrend. I got out at 937 at 96, and that was exactly at 936. It wasn't like little pieces. I got out here at 96. This was pretty good for what it was, and I think I did sell this one multiple times. I just happened to actually round off right at that 96 level. And I got out of this one because it broke a downtrend, not a downtrending, but an uptrending trend line that I had. I'm gonna guess it was something like this. And yeah, this candle officially broke past this uptrending trend line, and I did cut it for that reason. And that was a good call because this would have been pretty messed up and scary. And it did downtrend eventually and not really do much more. At least this part right here in the morning. But this was a good setup. I just wish I had the right amount of shares. I thought that worst case scenario was 65, so maybe it breaks, I'm in at 92, it breaks the day low, then there's slippage, it starts to panic, and I'm out at 65, which might have been a little too exaggerative because the lowest it got to was 72, but that's just something I can get better at over a longer period of time, try to, be more accurate on what the worst case scenario price point could be. Let's look at the last trade, which is GTII on the 4th. Fourth is right here. Not a very significant day, but something with GTII is that it does offer a lot of dips. You can even see this one right here. It doesn't look like that much other than that wick, but this was an inverse head and shoulders. I wasn't here when this happened, but GTII just does stuff like that. And that was a super profitable move. And I've been missing out on a lot of dips. It was another one in the morning, right? 426, breaks above VWAP, 429, gets as high as the 440s. And this was me trying to be a part of those type of setups. And I'm glad I tried this one. I got in at 1052 at 348. Trendline break slow. So let's look at 1052, 348. I don't think I'm gonna highlight it closer. 1052 was right here at 348. I got in it right here, and why? Well, it was a trendline break. So I did see this thing, how it was following this downtrending price action over a longer period of time. Notice how I drew it from here to here. And even though I drew it from this part of the chart, when you extend it, it actually follows it for the most part. I like how it had this downtrending trend line, and it was following it. It tried to get above it right here, it got past it, and then it sold off, and then it had one more dip. But once we had this dip, it was no longer following this trend line anymore. And then once we were showing signs that it was going to reverse, that's when I got in it. Best case scenario, it gets to VWAP, and then it uptrends even more above it, which I guess it did do right here, but not necessarily here when I took the setup. I got out at 11 at 350 and 6. So yeah, let's just say 350 at 11 o'clock. Right here is when I got out. And I just got out because I didn't like the price action. It was kind of ugly. In theory, it was following this uptrending trend line. Right from here to this wick right there. And it did follow it for the most part, but it just kind of traded all ugly. It didn't have like a lot of volume going on. It did do a downtrend eventually, and I guess it made like a triple bottom. And then this offered a pretty cool move. The highest point was 359, and I got out at 350 average. So I think that was okay for what it was. Definitely not a quick setup like the other moves with GTII, but I think it was still a good try for what it was. And if I were to maybe draw an adjusted trend line like this, it also plays around it. This was like more of a clean break. I like the other one I drew because it showed that it got above it, it got past it, but then it sold off, and then it made a bottom, but it was no longer following the line, while this one just breaks past it, and you have that fear that you're in the setup, it breaks the downtrending trend line, you want a reversal, and then, it just sells off and it gets back to the trend line. I've seen it happen a lot, so I do like how this one had a little bit more of a confirmation a bit of a slow trading one and not the best volume. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Should have had more shares on this setup with WLAN. Should have considered trading GTII on a lot of the dips that it had. I need to stick to it. That's pretty much it. It's a lot of good lessons. I have to keep trying. And yeah, that's it for this weekly recap right here.